Confused by all these shifting images of ruin, Turnus stood astounded, staring and silent. In his deepest heart there surged tremendous shame and madness mixed with sorrow. And love whipped on by frenzy and a courage aware of its own worth. As soon as shadows were scattered and his mind saw light again, in turmoil then he turned his burning eyes upon the walls, and from his chariot looked back to that splendid city. There a whirlwind of flames was rolling on, story by story, skyward, and gripping fast a tower, one that he himself had built of tight-packed timbers. Beneath it wheels were set, above it tall drawbridges. Sister, fate has won. Do not delay me. Let us follow where both God and cruel fortune call. I am set to face Aeneas, set to suffer death in all its bitterness. Sister, no longer will you see me in disgrace. I beg you, let me rage this madness out before I die. So Turnus, then he left his chariot, leaped down to the field, charging through enemies, through shafts. He quits his grieving sister. Swift he crashes through the center of the ranks. Just as a rock wind from a mountain top, it hurtles headlong, having been torn up by wind or washed away by a wheeling storm, or loosened by the long lapse of the years. The mass, enormous, with a mighty thrust, drives down the slope and bounds upon the earth, rolls woods and herds and men along its course. So Turnus rushes through the scattered bands up to the city walls, there where the ground is soaked in shed blood and the air is shrill with shafts. He signals with his hand, then shouts aloud, Rutulians, stop now, and you, Italians, stay your steel. Whatever chances here belongs to me. It is more just for me alone to pay this covenant, decide this war by sword. And then they all drew back and left the center free for combat. But when he hears the name of Turnus, Father Aeneas leaves the ramparts and tall towers. He casts aside delay, breaks off the siege, and now, exultant, joyous, and tremendous, he pounds upon his shield, as huge as Athos, as Eryx, or as Father Apenninus himself, when roaring with his trembling oaks, he lifts his snow-topped summit skyward, glad. Now all, Rutulians, Trojans, and Italians, turned eagerly to look, both those who manned high battlements and those below who ran a battering ram against the walls. They slung their weapons off their shoulders. King Latinus himself is wonderstruck to see such giant men, born within such distant, different lands, now come together for this trial by steel. And they, as soon as space was cleared for them along the open plain, first fling their spears from far, then swiftly rush to fight. They dash the brass of clanging shields together. Earth groans, and their frequent sword blows double. Chance and courage mingle into one, just as on giant Scylla or on tall Tiburnus, when two bulls charge together into battle with budding brows, the herdsmen fall back. All the flock is mute with fear. The heifers wonder who is to rule the forest, whom the herds must follow. And the bulls, with massive force, trade wounds. They gore with struggling horns. They bathe their necks and shoulders in a stream of blood. Their groans and bellows echo through the grove. So did the Daunian hero and the Trojan Aeneas clash their shields. Their violence fills all the air. There Jupiter himself holds up two scales in equal balance. Then he adds two different fates, one on each hand. Whom this trial dooms, what weight sinks down to death. Now Turnus, thinking he is safe, springs out. He rises up to his full height. With sword upraised he strikes. The Trojans and the anxious Italians shout. The tension takes both ranks. But treacherous that blade breaks off, deserts fanatic Turnus at his blow's mid-stroke. Had flight not helped him then. As soon as he sees that strange hilt in his defenseless hand, he runs away, swifter than the east wind. They say that in his first wild dash to battle, when mounting on his chariot, he had left his father's sword behind, and rushing snatched the weapon of his charioteer Metiscus. So long as routed Trojans turned their backs, that sword had served him well. But when it met the armor that the god of fire had forged, the mortal blade, like brittle ice, had splintered. The fragments glitter on the yellow sand. So Turnus madly flees across the field. Now here, then there, he wheels in wayward circles. The Trojans in a dense ring press against him. To one side lies the vast Laurentian marsh, and on the other, high walls hem him in. And though the arrow wound within his knees stays and delays him, none the less Aeneas runs after Turnus. Keen he presses on against his trembling enemy, foot to foot, even as when a hunting dog has found a stag hemmed in beside a stream, or hedged by fear before the netting's crimson feathers, he chases, barking, pressing near. The stag, in terror of the snare and of the river's high banks, wheels back and forth 1,000 ways. And yet the lively Umbrian hound hangs close to him with gaping mouth. At every instant he grasps, he grinds his jaws, but baffled, bites on nothing. Then indeed the shouting rises, the shores and lakes resound, confusion takes the skies. But Turnus, even as he flies away, rebukes all his Rutulian ranks. He calls on each by name, he shouts for his familiar blade. And for his part, Aeneas now menaces with death and instant ruin the head of anyone who dares draw near. He threatens to tear down the city, and he terrifies the shuddering Italians. Though wounded, he keeps on. 5 times they circle the field, and just as many times weave back, this way and that. They seek no trifling prize. What they strive for is Turnus's blood and life.